Okay, let's get started. So this is an adaptive reuse project for Melbourne Grammar Music School. As you probably know, Melbourne Grammar's kind of in a significant heritage overlay area, and the campus is essentially landlocked. So the music school is sort of just outside of the campus. The group of buildings, Bromby House and the Myer Music School, were in really poor condition and in desperate need of refurbishment, upgrading. And so the project really is the refurbishment of these two buildings plus a new infill building. Bryce Rayworth was the conservation advisor on the project, and he did all of the preliminary historical research and also the conditions report, which helped us sort of work out how we went about repairing buildings. So here we see the fabulous Mockridge Stahle Mitchell 1960 Myer Music Building, and in a residential area. So what's really extraordinary about this, I think, is the incredible skill of John Mockridge in particular for this building, with a little breezeway entrance, a forecourt to the street, and the fabulous butterfly roof. And then you know, so this is 1960. You can still see ladies with handbags and hats and gloves turning up for the opening. Bromby House was a farmhouse when it started, single story, 1865. And then it's had like so many new bits and pieces, a whole new story added on the top, extensions at the rear. But a fine house. You can see this block plan here, corner of Domain Street and Bromby, where the house originally was located, with paddocks, tennis court, cows and the works, and then various things that have happened to the building over time. So all that's tracked in terms of the things that had changed in the building itself. And when the school bought, and so Bryce's work was really incredibly thorough and helpful. It sort of went through every element of every aspect of the building, including, you know, the final arrangements over finishes and materials. So the location that we can see, this is the main campus, so it's right on the corner here. When the school bought the site in 1959, the architects basically built the Myer School in the backyard of number 3 Bromby. So you can see here, this is our very first from 2015 or thereabouts. These projects go on forever, it seems, with the series of suites of rooms, really nice, simple arrangement of rooms. So we didn't need to alter hardly anything within the planning of the house. And likewise with the original building. And then so the task really was, how do we infill between these two buildings, given one's 1865 farmhouse and the other's a mid-century modern butterfly roof house. So the task really was, this was the first sketch drawing of the idea, which was essentially you couldn't build a 2-story building in this location. It would have just obliterated the sense of relationship separation between the two buildings. So what we did was just push the building down into the ground. And this worked really well because the requirements for the School of Music were lots of little rooms, hundreds of them, and then 2 big new rehearsal spaces. And so putting them underground is just the simplest thing. It's really good acoustically. And it meant that the little spaces, all the things that didn't fit in either original building, would then be arranged into the infill building. And so the task here was very much, architecturally, how do you join between 2 disparately different buildings with a new infill architecture? So underground, you can see here the piling arrangement, the 2 music rooms, rehearsal and performance rooms, and then the excavation. And you can see in the background the condition of the Myer Music building, particularly the brickwork. Buildings in this period were just so poorly built, you know, really porous concrete, terrible everything, you know. So there's a lot of care in getting the building back to good nick. So here you can see the arrival thing, the idea of the linking breezeway, adapting this idea of the street address is the breezeway, and then the buildings are connected via this element directly into the back of the house. Each of the original rooms become music teaching, practice rooms, entrance, stair, and lift. And then on the first floor, a fabulous big room upstairs with a bridge link across through the void space within to get all the instruments up and down, and then more music staff offices and teaching spaces. And then you can see there, in the section how neatly it fits in between the two buildings and the relationship and the street. So there's a sort of a lantern element, which is part of the bridge, which brings daylight down into the interior. Then you can see here the condition of the building originally, and this sort of ramshackle collection of stuff out the back, which was removed. The music master lived in the house with sheep, of all things. I don't know what he was up to. A pretty eccentric guy. It took a while to get him out of the house. But you can sort of see what was obvious was that the house just needed to be tidied up. And then here you can see within the butterfly roof how dark and dreary it had become. But all of the elements were there. So, the task of getting the space back. Then the biggest issue probably for a lot of this is just the micro planning of nearly every element in the building that doesn't comply with the current regulations. So the terrazzo stairs, which are really beautiful, obviously we removed the balustrading, put a new one in, and we put little plugs back in here. And then likewise with all the windows in the original house, there's double and triple glazing with a new suite of windows that are sort of installed within inside the building. So from outside, it doesn't change its appearance. And likewise with insulation in the floors and ceilings and windows. So quickly, here we go with some aerial views of where it is in the setting in relation to the school. The street aspect of this idea of the linking breezeway and the recessive nature of the lantern at the back. And at night it's used, like into the dark of the evening because it's rehearsal rooms. The boys come and go as they need to. This beautiful butterfly roof with the very wide eaves and the window elements and the brick walling. The house, back to a really elegant building sitting nicely in the street. The forecourt, which, is kind of important, I think, in its relationship to the street. Then the breezeway itself, but linking the buildings, sort of ramping between the levels and lockers for the kids, and that stairway in the Mockridge building. Then upstairs, we've got digital recording space looking into one of the main studios, music rehearsal and performance space. And here you can see that space restored beautifully. Most of the ceiling was there, individual battens fixed. The air conditioning is in this fat wall here, basically as a way of, in fact, putting the air conditioning in the building area. You can't even see where it is. It's been really a lot of work done in trying to conceal things that would have otherwise destroyed this sort of incredibly beautiful interior.
1 minute.
Okay, so then this is just the foyer spaces, looking downstairs. Some of the beautiful interiors, sort of rich wooden interior. Then the house itself, again, a really fine house. And the work done here was incredibly simple, like almost nothing to do exactly except simple work. And then that was where the sheep were, if you remember. So, what was probably a kitchen is now a music and rehearsal space. Thank you.